In the shadows of our world, where myths meet reality, there lurks a creature both human and beast. The Goatman, a legend whispered in fear, a predator that preys on your deepest nightmares. In this video, we unravel 3 spine-chilling stories of encounters with this horrifying entity, each darker and more disturbing than the last. Prepare yourself for tales of mimicry, possession, and ultimate terror. Are you ready to face the Goatman? Story 1: The Curse of the Bridge. Amy loved a good scare. As the most daring of her group, she was always the first to suggest urban legend hunts, and tonight was no different. It was her idea to visit Old Creek Bridge, a crumbling relic in the middle of nowhere, infamous for its dark history. Locals whispered of disappearances and sightings of a creature with glowing red eyes and horns, the Goatman. Amy sat in the passenger seat as Jake drove their beat-up SUV along the winding back roads. Laura and Chris were in the back, exchanging uneasy glances as they passed a weathered sign. Caution. Bridge out ahead. You sure this is a good idea? Chris asked, his voice shaky. Oh, come on, Amy teased. What's the worst that could happen? It's just a dumb story. The car came to a halt at the bridge. It looked worse than they'd imagined. Weather-beaten, with gaping holes in the wooden planks. Fog drifted eerily across the surface, and the air smelled of damp earth. Armed with flashlights, the group ventured onto the bridge. The planks groaned under their weight, and every step felt like a gamble. Below them, the creek babbled faintly, but the oppressive silence of the forest was deafening. As they reached the midpoint, Amy froze. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. "Hear what?" Jake asked. "Someone's calling my name." The group fell silent, straining to listen. Then they heard it. Faint but unmistakable, a childlike voice calling, "Amy? Help me?" Amy's heart skipped a beat. "That's my brother. That's Tom." "Impossible," Laura said. "Your brother's at home." Amy ignored her, spinning toward the sound. The voice came again, closer now. Without hesitation, she sprinted off the bridge, her flashlight beam bouncing wildly in the darkness. "Wait!" Jake shouted, but she was already gone. The others hesitated, unsure whether to follow. From the woods came another sound, a guttural growl that didn't belong to any animal they knew. Amy ran blindly into the forest, her heart pounding. The voice grew louder, guiding her deeper into the thick woods. "Tom, where are you?" she cried. She broke into a clearing and stopped dead in her tracks. Before her stood a figure. It was tall, with a man's body but the grotesque, horned head of a goat. Its eyes glowed crimson, and its mouth stretched into a jagged grin. Amy tried to scream, but the sound caught in her throat. The creature reached for her, its clawed hand impossibly long, and the world went dark. The next morning, Jake, Laura, and Chris found Amy sitting on the bridge, her clothes torn and her arms scratched. She stared blankly at the water below, muttering, "It wasn't him. It wasn't him." Amy never spoke again, retreating into a catatonic state. 2 weeks later, she was found dead in her room, her body twisted as if from a violent struggle. Then Jake received a voicemail. It was Amy's voice, trembling and filled with terror. "Jake, it's here. It's coming for you." Story 2: The Campfire Ritual. The camping trip was supposed to be a fun escape from finals. Lisa, Ben, Rachel, and Mark had picked a remote site deep in the woods. After setting up camp and lighting a fire, they began exploring. That's when Lisa found the book. It was buried beneath a pile of stones, its leather cover etched with strange symbols. The pages were brittle, filled with unfamiliar text, except for one section written in English. "Check this out," Lisa said, holding it up triumphantly. The others gathered around as she read aloud. "O Goatman of the shadows, guardian of the woods, we summon you to our fire." "Lisa, don't read that," Rachel snapped, snatching the book away. But it was too late. The flames roared to life, burning higher than seemed natural. The forest grew unnaturally silent. A low, rumbling growl echoed in the distance. That night, Lisa disappeared, Her tent was slashed open, and her sleeping bag was soaked with blood. But there was no sign of her body. A year passed. Rachel, Ben, and Mark returned to the site, hoping for closure. As they sat around the fire, reminiscing about Lisa, a figure emerged from the trees. "Lisa," Rachel whispered. It was her, or at least it looked like her. Her hair was matted, and her clothes were torn, but her smile was eerily wide. "Missed me?" Lisa said, her voice unnaturally cheerful. Before they could react, Lisa's body twisted and contorted. Her feet turned to hooves, and her eyes glowed red. "You called me," she said in a voice that was no longer hers. "Now I've come to collect." By dawn, the campsite was empty, save for the smoldering remains of the fire. Story 3. The Farmhouse Feast. Emma and Sam thought they'd hit the jackpot when they inherited an old farmhouse. But from the first night, things felt wrong. Barney, their dog, barked incessantly at the barn, and Emma swore she saw shadows moving in the fields. One stormy night, Barney's barking woke them again. This time it was frantic, almost panicked. Sam grabbed a flashlight and headed to the barn. "Stay here," he told Emma. But Barney's barking stopped abruptly, and Sam didn't return. Emma grabbed a knife and ventured into the barn. Inside, she found the animals slaughtered, their bodies arranged in a grotesque circle. In the center stood Sam, or something wearing his face. Its eyes glowed red, and its voice was distorted as it said, "You should have stayed away." Emma's scream echoed across the fields, but no one came to help. The farmhouse has stood abandoned ever since, but travelers report hearing Emma's screams and seeing a shadowy figure watching from the barn. As the darkness closes in, the Goatman's presence becomes undeniable. He is more than a legend, he is a warning. Whether in the woods, on an abandoned bridge, or within the depths of your own fears, the Goatman is always watching, waiting. If you found these stories chilling, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Share this video with others who dare to uncover the truth behind the terrifying myth of the Goatman. And remember, the next time you hear someone calling your name in the dark, it might just be him. Until next time, stay safe, and never venture too far into the unknown.